Saturday morning. And that means it's time to catch up on the local and statewide high school sports scene. Welcome to High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. Now, here are your hosts, Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Well, good morning. I'm not Matt Hatfield. I'm not Ed Young. I'm Lynn Burke, sort of the permanent substitute when one of those two can't be here. And right now, neither of those two are here. Explain a little bit why. Matt is out at Green Run High School. He's getting ready for the 11th annual Virginia Preps Classic that starts today. Matt's pulling his hair out because he had to make some last-minute schedule changes because of the weather that's coming in. And Ed is in transit. He just texted and said he's hung up by the high-rise bridge being up, so he's on his way. So until Ed gets here, I'm it. So you're going to have to listen. You're going to have to listen to me and put up with me, and hopefully have a good time. Looking at the phones, Keith is not called in yet. So Keith, if you're there, feel free to call in, and we will talk. Anyway, let's do this. Let's go over the schedule for today, a couple of showcases and a big wrestling tournament going on, and then we'll talk about some scores from last night. As we mentioned, Matt's out at Green Run, the 11th annual Virginia Preps Classic Part 1 out at Green Run High School. He originally had 7 games on his schedule, but there's weather. As we know, there's going to be some weather coming in. He had 4 teams from Northern Virginia, 1 from Richmond. They all had to postpone, so we had to revamp the schedule at the last minute. So here's what we got right now out at Green Run. At noon, Princess Anne against Portsmouth Christian. 1:40, Norfolk Academy against Grafton from over on the peninsula. 3:20, Cape Henry, one of the best private schools around, against Churchland. 5 o'clock, Oscar Smith versus Menchville. And at 6:40, Green Run against Woodside. Unfortunately, as we said, Colonial Forge, Hayfield, Potomac Falls, and W.T. Woodson from Northern Virginia had to cancel out, and John Marshall from Richmond the same way. Over at Booker T. Washington today, we've got the MLK Junior Select 12 Basketball Classic. We've got 6 games going on over there, and looking at the schedule there, they're all local teams, so I suspect there are probably no postponements. But at noon, it's Norcom against Salem. 1:30, Lake Taylor against Denby. 3 o'clock, Norview against Indian River. 4:30, Granby against Lakeland. 6 o'clock, Booker T. Washington versus Bethel. And then at 7:30, Maury against Phoebus. And also, we talk about this time every year over at the Hampton Coliseum. It's the Virginia Duels Wrestling Classic. Lots of teams from around the country, both on the college and high school level. And several of our high school teams from Hampton Roads are doing really, really well. In the national division, that's the top division, has the top teams from around the country. New Kent still in the running for 3rd place. They're facing Camden Catholic from New Jersey this morning in one of the consolation rounds. We've also got Lafayette and Warwick involved. The American division, that's the number 2 division. Kellam's in the semifinals. They'll face Upper Dauphin from Pennsylvania this morning. Kellam beat St. Mary's Riken from Maryland and Bellefonte area from Pennsylvania on Friday. First Colonial, Hickory, and Grassfield are all still alive in the consolation bracket. But the big news for wrestling fans in Hampton Roads, the Black and Blue division, that's the division that usually has lots of teams from this area. All 4 teams in the semifinals are from the 757. Actually, all 3 of them are from Virginia Beach and 1 from Chesapeake. In the semis, it's Oscar Smith against Ocean Lakes, Cox against Great Bridge, and those 2 winners will compete tonight for the championship. And still waiting for Ed to make his appearance. As we said, he's hung up in traffic. Hopefully he's gotten past the high-rise bridge and he's on his way here. And hopefully he's not going too fast and he won't get stopped and get a ticket. Let's do this. Let's go over some scores from last night. Boys basketball, start with the Beach District. It's Bayside 48, Ocean Lakes 42. Number 2, Landstown 72. Number 8, Kellam 41. Those are rankings by the Virginian Pilot. Of course, Kellam had won 8 straight games, but Landstown ranked number 2 in the area. Michael Christmas led all scorers with 19 points, and Kellam's winning streak is no more. Also, Cox 54, First Colonial 48. Cox ranked number 9 by the Pilot. Kayvon James scored 24 points, had 6 3-pointers, and Cox started with a 14-0 run there in the first quarter. Moving to the Eastern District, there was number 1 Granby 78, Wilson 52. Number 4, Maury 72, Lake Taylor 37. Brian Phillips a game-high 27 points, Maury up 20 at the half. Also in the Eastern District, Churchland 48, Booker T. Washington 44, and Norview 60, Norcom 46. Heading for the Southeastern District, number 5, Oscar Smith 98, Grassfield 52. Number 6, Western Branch 82, Indian River 61. Lakeland knocks off number 10, Kings Fork 72-58. Was Deep Creek 76, Great Bridge 62, and something I'm sure Coach Young will want to talk about. Nansemond River 72, Hickory 62. Justin Fatherly 14 of his game-high 20 points in the fourth quarter. If I'm not mistaken, Nansemond River scored 30 points there in the fourth quarter to take that victory. Heading to the other side of the water, the Peninsula District, with Hampton 79 and Denby 63. Kickitan 60, Bethel 50. Menchville 99, Warwick 65. Woodside 78, Gloucester 47. And we did not see a score on Heritage and Phoebus. I believe that game was at Heritage last night. If anyone knows that score, please give us a call and let us know. The Bay Rivers District, Grafton 62, War Hill 26. Was Tab over New Kent 84-48. Freshman Styles Gardner season high 23 points, including 5 3-pointers. It was Bruton 63, York 52. Croston 51, Jamestown 50. And Lafayette 39, Smithfield 37. Jack Nice's basket broke a tie with about 15 seconds left and probably broke Keith's heart on that one. Some of the other schools, Brunswick 69, Franklin 68, Surrey County 78, Windsor 25, Matthews 71, King and Queen 63, Middlesex 62, Nandua 50, Brunswick, we said that one already, Charles City 68, West Point 53. And finally, the private schools, Nansemond and Suffolk 59, Peninsula Catholic 50, number 7, Cape Henry 77, Bishop Sullivan 63, Hampton Christian 62, Isle of Wight Academy 60, and it was Stewart School from Richmond 78, Atlantic Shores 47. This is High School Sports Talk, sponsored by VirginiaPreps.com. Again, Matt Hatfield is out at Green Run getting ready for the 11th Annual Virginia Preps Classic, and Ed is on his way. So hopefully he'll be here shortly and he can take over the hot seat here. So until he does get here, let's run over some girls' scores from last night. In the Beach District, Ocean Lake 75, Bayside 57, maybe the best individual performance of the night. Kayla McMakin, 38 points, 15 rebounds for the Dolphins. Also, Landstown 41, Kellum 30, and First Colonial 49, Cox 28. The Eastern District, the wildest score of the night, number 2, Lake Taylor 79, Maury 5, and Coach Young has just made his appearance. He should be in it. He is walking through the door now. All right, also in the Eastern District, Norview over Norcom 55-33, Churchland 52, Booker T. Washington 23, Wilson 72, Granby 12. Southeastern District, number 3, Deep Creek 63, Great Bridge 33, number 5, Kings Fork 52, Lakeland 24. Maybe the best game of the night, number 8, Western Branch beats number 7, Indian River 52-50. Western Branch up 12 in the second half, held on and won when center Aaron Bird blocked a shot with under 20 seconds to go. Also, Nansemond River 60, Hickory 26, and Oscar Smith 61, Grassfield 43. The Peninsula District, Woodside 42, Gloucester 41. Woodside trailed by 12 after 3 quarters, came back and won that one. Bethel 51, Kickitan 30, Menchville 62, Warwick 48, Heritage 49, Phoebus 48, and Lafayette 37, York 25. Ed's getting set up over here. We should hear from him in just a minute. And private schools, Bishop Sullivan 58, Cape Henry 30. We had Larry Bowman on here a couple weeks ago. His Bishop Sullivan team wins again. Nansemond Suffolk 65, Peninsula Catholic 14, and Portsmouth Christian 36, Williamsburg Christian Academy 17. So Ed, are you with us?
Good morning, Lynn. I hope can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, I'm here. Good morning, Thomas. Apologies for coming in late, of all days to come in late. Not my habit, but a couple things beyond my control. One thing beyond my control, one that I kind of messed up on my own. But hey, I'm here. That's the key. I tell you what, I'm not in the situation that Matt Hatfield's in. I can imagine, as you mentioned earlier, I was trying to listen to the show on the way in. He's pulling his hair out if he has any left. Unfortunately, the weather has caused another situation for his showcase. It's happened in the past, and Matt doesn't deal with that very well as a promoter of any basketball event. When you have something set up as big as Matt has set up and as well run and as well successful as it's been, you don't like any glitches. And unfortunately, the weather is going to cause a glitch in this, and some teams had to cancel out. He had to rearrange, and so he's a green run, and it's going to go all right. It always does. You can't worry about things you don't have control over, as I often have to remind myself, and take care of the things that you do have control over. So he'll get a way to get it done, and he'll be talking to us, I hope, real soon. I'm hoping on the next segment he'll be able to get in here and kind of give us something in a calm manner.
Yeah, I texted him this morning, said, try to stay sane. He texted me back. He goes, I'm trying.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. But a lot of games. I heard the showcase event for him. There's a big one over at Booker T with a lot more local teams. So basically both showcases right now, it's just local teams. Unfortunately, with the crazy weather predicted, it's going to affect probably Richmond on up worse than us. I think, Matt doesn't want to hear me do weather reports, so probably shouldn't do it, but I don't think we'll have the snow and ice here that everybody else is going to get. But looks like we'll get a lot of rain. But I tell you what, the feeling outside coming in almost feels like we're going to get some snow.
Ouch.
Yeah,
anyway, Thomas is signaling that we need to take a break.
All right, we'll do that.
So we'll take a break, and you and I will change seats.
It doesn't matter to me. As long as I'm in here, I don't care where I sit. As long as I got a seat.
We're doing fine.
Recapping another busy week of prep sports, it's High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Welcome back. This is the coach, Ed Young. You're listening to High School Sports Talk here live Saturday morning, brought to you by VirginiaPreps.com. All your high school needs taken care of, just check out VirginiaPreps.com. My regular partner in studio, Matt Hatfield, in fact, the CEO of VirginiaPreps.com, is running his showcase today, VirginiaPreps.com tournament. It's showcase part 1. He'll be running another one on January 26th. He's got an event going on today at Green Run High School. I'm going to give you quickly, it's a reshuffled schedule. Reshuffled because of the pending weather. Unfortunately, the weather has decided to play around with Matt, and it's a problem for the situation of the tournament. But he's still going to persevere. His game's today at 12 o'clock. He's got Princess Anne versus Portsmouth at 12, as I said. 1:40, Norfolk Academy versus Grafton. 3:20, he's got Cape Henry against Churchland. At 5 o'clock, Oscar Smith and Menchville. And at 6:40, Green Run and Woodside. That's at Green Run High School. The showcase is today at Green Run High School. Still, you can get tickets at the door. Some teams from out of the area that were scheduled to show up: Colonial Forge, Hayfield, Potomac Falls, W.T. Woodson, and John Marshall out of Richmond. Those teams were unable to come. Those districts were told that, hey, you can't do it. And because of that weather coming up. And unfortunately, and my co-host today, I'm remiss not to mention his name, is Lynn Burke, who's come in many times for us. Today, he had a first. He had to open the show along with Thomas as I was battling some traffic issues. And, of course, Matt's over at Green Run. So situation was crazy. And we're going to go to a caller coming in right now, if you would, please. Thomas, who do we have online?
It's time to talk to Matt.
Oh, it's Matt. All right, we'll take Matt then. Is he there?
I'm here. Good morning, guys.
Hey, I thought maybe that was Keith being the first caller, but I guess he's going to wait a little bit. I think Smithfield lost, if I'm not mistaken. Did you say that, Lynn?
Yeah, they lost by a couple.
Okay, so
Lafayette got him, right?
Who?
Lafayette got him, right, or no?
Yeah, Lafayette.
Yeah.
They're a little bit of a tailspin, Smithfield is, but still a good ball club, and still I think a team that will venture into the Division III playoffs, and a team to
Division 4.
Division 4. Oh, they're 4. Okay, Division 4 playoffs.
Yeah, I can give you, if you want, real quick, Ed, because and I got to give a shout out because not only is he the whiz behind the computer when it comes to stats, but he's already given me going into Thursday night. My man Mike Whittington the updated power ratings going into the games for 4. Right now, as we stand, it's Kings Fork as the 1 seed currently, Grafton as the 2, Churchland is the 3, Lafayette's jumped up to the 4, Denby has jumped up to the 5, Smithfield is the 6, Jamestown's the 7, Great Bridge the 8, Heritage the 9, Deep Creek the 10. Just outside looking in, if the playoffs were to start today, are Lake Taylor, Wilson, War Hill. And this is going to change because we still have about a good 6 to 8 games left per team. But think about that for a second, guys. Lake Taylor, the defending state champs, a team that can win that bracket would not be in the bracket if the postseason began today.
That's pretty hard for me to fathom. Yeah, Lake Taylor can win that easy from any of the spots. Any of the spots. I really believe that. And there's some other teams that you mentioned not in there that probably could probably win a game at least.
Deep Creek. I mean, think about it for a second. Lake Taylor could win it, but they got to get in, A, and then B, Deep Creek played them in the region championship. They both went to states out of Region 4A last year, and today, if the playoffs begin, neither would be in. That's how wacky 4A is this year. That
is absolutely amazing, and Deep Creek has perhaps arguably maybe one of the best, definitely one of the top 5, I think, there in Clay Butts to play in that. So that's amazing. But like you said, first of all, those were the standings before Friday's games, and of course this weekend, Saturday's games today, and of course everybody still has a good handful of games left. So there's going to be a lot of changes. Now they take 10 teams, correct?
Yeah, they take 10. So what they have is the 7 plays the 10, the 8 plays the 9. They don't like calling them play-in games, but for lack of a better phrase, it's kind of what they are.
Yeah,
they're playing
games. Go from there.
Yeah, they're playing games. They'll call that first round, excuse me, but no, those are basically playing games. If that's how you see the 10-team tournament, that's how you do it. Hey, Lynn and I are tiptoeing around talking to you because we know you're not right of mind today. I've often said you're not right of mind, period, but today I will give it to you. Unfortunately, Mother Nature has lent her hand uncalled for to you again about your showcase, which has happened in the past, and some of your out-of-area teams have backed out because they had to. And I know you're scrambling like crazy, but I told Lynn before you came on, Matt's worried like crazy, but it's going to be all right because it always has been. The showcase has still been good. You rearranged some matchups. There were local teams, but still, it's decent matchups. So, are you breathing okay somewhat?
I am breathing okay. I was lightheaded a couple times last night. Thought I might pass out at the Landstown game, which was a doozy of a game. Landstown blowing them out. But, Lynn, I have to put this out there right away to you. First of all, thank you for filling in. I appreciate it so much. And secondly, Ed, I'm glad in one sense that he didn't say on air last Saturday that we wouldn't get snow, because then I think it would have got snowed out completely today.
All right.
But right after we got off the air last week, Ed said, hey, you look good for no snow. And then I knew right then I was in for it.
Well, I didn't want to predict snow because it would be a problem. But I also made a comment to Matt last week. It was a year ago last week that we got those 5, 6, 7 inches of snow. Mm-hmm. And then I think I did say, well, you know what? We're not going to get any this time. So
Matt, Coach made an updated forecast today, though. He said the snow is not going to come to this half of the state. So,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, nice to know. I mean,
but Matt, you're okay. You've got the teams in hand. So it could have a blizzard out. You're still going to be okay. Because everybody's here now, you'll get your teams in. There should be no reason.
Yeah, then you can turn it into a round robin tournament at that point. You can just have them. You can just lock the gym, just have them play basketball for the whole weekend.
Marathon.
And so, Ed, do you have any advanced prediction for the weather for 2 weeks for the next round?
I can't. I'm not allowed to because unfortunately my team's playing.
Oh,
so
you better be careful. You might want to say nothing because then you might be searching for a game, my friend.
Yeah, I might be in trouble. So I'm not going to say a word.
And we already had to fix you with another game. That's another long story for another time.
And there's almost a third opponent coming in too. So I'm not going to say a word about it. I'm just looking at the weather myself, and it's crazy. But I tried to listen to the updated forecast today, and it seemed it said that the snow was going to stay above the Richmond area up. So I'm going by what the experts say, not what Ed Young says. But Matt, you rearranged some things here. You were able to get a couple teams to come in who didn't have games. Am I correct?
Well, essentially what we did was we were able to get Churchland and Grafton, who are both two Class 4 schools. It's funny we start out with Class 4 because we didn't plan this, but it kind of ties in. They were scheduled to have a game against each other, but they could obviously see each other in the playoffs. And both administrations got to give Laura Parker at Grafton as well as Mike Whittington at Churchland a ton of thanks, as well as their coaches Mike Holland at Churchland and Jeremy Jordan at last minute for agreeing to step in and play Norfolk Academy and Cape Henry today. We'll have two games following the tip-off game at noon, which is Princess Anne and Portsmouth Christian, which has a little bit of intrigue because Princess Anne, as you know, Coach, is vying for one of those final spots in Class 5, Region A, under third-year coach Corey Kofer, and they play their former leading point guard and Tim Montgomery, who transferred to Portsmouth Christian in the offseason. So a little bit of a storyline there, but you have to get both parties to agree to it. So we thank Churchland and Grafton immensely. So you'll have at 1:40 following the PA Portsmouth Christian game, it'll be Norfolk Academy taking on Grafton. Both of them checking in, I believe, at 10-2 overall. Y'all can confirm that if that sounds right. And then 3:20 is Churchland and Cape Henry. An intriguing matchup. Could be a really up-and-down type of game. A lot of athletes on the floor, transition style of game with good guard play. And then DeJour Rucker, who's signed with Marshall for Cape Henry, leading the way for Mark Hall's Dolphins. And then after that, we've got the Oscar Smith-Minchville game at 5 o'clock. Both of them coming in, I think, with 9 or 10 wins apiece on the year. Smith in great position to get a top spot in Class 6 Region A. Meanwhile, Minchville and Lamont Struthers in great position to get a top seed, one of the top 3 or 4 seeds in Region 5A. And they were supposed to play at 11 a.m., but due to the weather concerns, when we were scrambling yesterday, we were moving that game back to give us a little bit of wiggle room. And it's a marquee type of game that we had to start things off, as you had said, Ed. So we'll put that at 5 o'clock, and then at 6:40, the nightcap tonight will be Green Run, who I think is 11-3, and Woodside, who, if I'm not mistaken, is 8-5 overall, beat Gloucester rather handily last night. And want to note that the games that were forced to postpone yesterday, with the likes of John Marshall and Landstown, for example, Kellum's game, Cox game, we are still efforting diligently with the coaches and the administrations to reschedule those games, but we don't have a firm date at this moment. We are targeting a couple of dates, potentially early next week, potentially Martin Luther King Day. So keep it tuned to VirginiaPreps.com for further details on that as we firm up things, hopefully by the end of the weekend.
Well, that was my next question. You're going to try to get those games in. It's just that you have to find out when those teams are available to keep those matchups. I would imagine the same. And then the second option would be to maybe rearrange the schedule if we can get everybody to agree, and those teams would still play because obviously they still have a game to play to give in their schedule because you're only allowed the public schools are only allowed 22 games, so you got to make sure you stay within the 22. So that's what I've imagined that if once you get them all to agree, you can keep the same matchups, just a different date, or you keep the same teams and then you have a different matchup altogether.
Right, and the big thing is, logistically, going back to yesterday, I mean, we had even explored options of, with the potential snow Richmond's going to get, of having John Marshall play a morning game, and they were willing to do it. That's how bad they wanted to come and do it, but it just, eventually the school system said it would just be too big of a risk, and, our hands are tied with that, and so we have to err on the side of caution and safety as the school, so we completely understand. We don't want a unfortunate incident to happen with maybe traffic and the weather. So, at that point, we're kind of stuck. But the John Marshall-Landstown game would be a marquee showdown. I mean, two teams that began the year number 1 in the state in respective divisions. The likes of Kellum and Cox have very good teams. They've participated and shown well in the event before. So, as you know, Ed, we've had doubleheader, tripleheader resets. We've had them at Green Run. We're not limited to having it just at Green Run. There's a couple of things we are exploring at this time, too, but we've had them on Monday nights and Saturday nights with a double or triple header, and we've sold out with those. But at the end of the day, the main thing is that we put on hopefully a competitive product, a good field of games, and the fans come out and support it, and it's a fun day of hoops. That's the main goal with it. And I think we've got a nice little slate today, and then we've got another session coming up on January 26th at Oscar Smith, which your Warriors, along with several other teams that are above the 500 mark, are partaking in.
Well, now, before we get into logistics of redoing this and everything else, what about some of the top players in the tournament today? Sure. How about going over some of those guys that people can see play?
Absolutely. I think you start with the first game, guys. Princess Anne's got a freshman point guard who just had a double-double in his last time out against Northeastern, Kanye Clary. 12 points, 10 assists. He's already got an offer as a ninth grader from Hampton University, so he'll go up against Tim Montgomery, mano a mano. Tim Montgomery, one of the better point guards in the area. And the next game you look at with Grafton. Grafton's just a well-schooled, disciplined team under Jeremy Jordan. No marquee stud, but I keep an eye on Brandon Bomboy. He can dial it up from distance, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a good career, whatever level he ends up, whether it's Division III, Division II. He's a sleeper kid out there, along with their point guard and Terry White. Norfolk Academy, meanwhile, has the marquee player in the event. I dare say the area, and certainly among the top 3 or 4 players in the state, and the 7-footer Mark Williams, the junior towering big man. He's ranked in the top 50 by Rivals, as well as other scouting services out there, with offers from the likes of Ohio State and UVA, and Duke is very much involved, where his older sister Elizabeth Williams, the WNBA former Princess Anne All-American, played at. So that's what you're looking at there. Mark Williams is if you want to see like one main attraction player, he's the one you want to come out and see. Beyond that, Marshall signee DeJour Rucker of Cape Henry, as alluded to, he's very good. A young man you know about, Ed Christian Moore, a guard for Cape Henry, one of the best underclassmen guards in the region. Cape Henry also has Danny Bannister, who was signed with Hampton University to play his college hoops for Coach Buck Joyner. On the Churchland side of things, no real marquee Division I sub, but they got a lot of good pieces led by Sharif Bynum for them at the guard spot. Moving on to the last 2 games, I think you're littered with a lot of talent on the floor. Woodside has a 7-foot sophomore, he's about 6'10", 6'11". He's going to be 7 foot by the time he graduates, in Matthew Nunez. You've got Khalif Jimison, the junior point guard, who's the grandson of Walter Brower, who has really stepped up for Coach Stephon Welch there. Quishon Brevard and Karan Coleman, 2 underclassmen guards. Woodside's team is mostly young players, sophomores and juniors, so we could be talking about them making a big run next year, if not sooner, this season in a top-heavy Region 6A. Of course, Green Run has if not the leading scorer in the area, one of the top 2 or 3 scorers in Ashley James, who just got his 1,000th career point last week. He's getting some Division I looks, as we talked about before in the show. George Wilson, a sophomore, has an offer from Hampton for them. Jake Cooper is stepping up as a sophomore. And then not to be forgotten about Oscar Smith in Menchville. Oscar Smith with a quartet of guards in Brequan Harrell, Andre Bottoms, Torrey Jordan, Kai Lockhart. You know them pretty well. Coach haven't played them, and I know you got them again. And then Menchville, led by a perimeter trio of Chauncey Jenkins, Amar Hawkins, and Alan Struthers, the sophomore point guard, son of Coach Lamont Struthers, the former CNU great NBA player. He's got ODU, Radford, Hampton, Norfolk State on him, and he's going to be, by the time he's done, one of the top point guards in the state, without a doubt.
Hey, Matt, I want you to hang on. As you well know, we got to go to these breaks, so we got one coming up now. Stay on, and we want to continue talking some hoops when we get you back.
That sounds good to me.
All right, you're going to take a break here on High School Sports Talk here this great Saturday morning. I am the coach, Ed Young, along with my new co-host today, Lynn Burke, and you're listening to, as I said, High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Welcome back. This is the coach, Ed Young. I am doing the lead voice today as my partner, Matt Hatfield, is running his VirginiaPreps.com showcase, Part 1. Green Run High School had to be a readjusted schedule because of the impending weather to come. My co-host today, and you've heard him many, many times before, and that's Lynn Burke, formerly the number one guy at the in the Daily Press Sports Room, HRVarsity.com, and what else, Lynn? You should be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm happy to be in my recliner.
No, we need Lynn Burke. There's got to be a Media Hall of Fame. Has to be. Or at the very least, Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. We got to get that ball rolling as everybody's on a bandwagon to put people in Hall of Fames. There should be no bandwagon. Lynn Burke deserves it, period. With the work he's done, the knowledge he has, the history he has been involved in, the tradition, we're going to have to make that happen. And perhaps the guy that's on the phone right now has some pull. And, of course, we are talking with the guy who's normally in this lead seat, the one, the only, Matt Hatfield. Matt, you still there?
And make that happen, put him on the ballot. Why not?
Yeah, I think he really deserves it. I mean, he was there 92 years at the Daily Press. He was the lead. Every time I called, if he didn't answer and answer a question, he was the go-to guy to get the question done, to find out information. Anytime we have to go back and find out, did this ever happen? Would that ever? the guy who always found out, one way or the other, he found out, was Lynn Burke.
Well, that's because every time you call and either Sonny Dirth or Teal or DJ picked up the phone, they said, "Oh, it's that young guy. Get Lynn to take care of him. We don't want to talk to him."
Well, Lynn did understand my mentality early on when I first came to the area, so I think that's why we clicked. But he was the voice I always remembered. The Daily. I thought he was the Daily Press. I thought he was like the editor, the owner, and he was hands on. So we are going to try to do that. We are going to try to get Lynn taken care of because he won't do it himself because he's too calm, collect, and humble. But he deserves that. Matt, as we said, we've got the schedule today. I'm going to go over it real quick. VirginiaPreps.com Classic over there at Green Run High School starts at 12 o'clock. Princess Anne against Portsmouth Christian. That was an added-on game because of the weather situation. 1:40, we got Norfolk Academy with the Williams kid, Mark Williams. People got to get out and see this kid if you haven't seen him. Future pro. They're going to take on Grafton. At 3:20, we got Cape Henry, loaded with talent as always, against Churchland. At 5 o'clock, we got Oscar Smith in Menchville. And I told Matt a couple of weeks ago, he had that game at 11 o'clock. I said, that's a marquee matchup, which goes to show you how great his lineup was. So now it's been pushed down in the schedule at 5 o'clock. That'll be a good one.
Listen to you.
Top teams.
I listened to you, Ed.
Well, it's about time you listen to me. If you listen more, you'd be more successful. But that's a whole other show. 6:40, we got Green Run Woodside, which was the original top one. Instead of at 9 o'clock at night, it's now 6:40. So you'll be able to get in there, people. Get in and watch the games. And to those that are worried about weather, you'll be out in time. And it's just going to rain around here, so we can deal with the rain. Hey, man, what's the price?
Tickets are $10, but if you've reserved, and we've got that list, gates are opening at 11 a.m., by the way. You get $2 off for those that have emailed me. We have the link on VirginiaPreps.com. The email direct link is tickets@MatthewHatfield.com, tickets@MatthewHatfield.com. You can still reserve for the 26th. We've shut off the reserve for today to save the $2. But if you're 18 and under, it's just $5 for the day, $3 if you reserve. So literally, it's $2 a game for an adult, $1 a game for any kid or student. I mean, it's hard to beat that. And then you'll probably get out in time to see the second of the 2 NFL divisional games tonight, which has sometimes always been in the past. You'd be like, I don't know if I'll go out. Well, we'll have a TV or two on there, probably in the lobby, but also you'll get home for the second game in time if you come for the 5. So it's actually, in that regard, it's working out well. And the other thing, too, guys, is that it was kind of playing this way, sort of not. A lot of the teams that play each other, their styles are very similar to each other. Grafton and Norfolk Academy kind of mirror images to one another. Church and Cape Henry both like to run. I think the same could be said for Green Run and Woodside, as well as Oscar Smith Menchville. So we could have an overtime game or two, or a buzzer beater or two. I believe last year we had 6 games in the showcase decided by 4 points or less. So you'll be on the edge of your seat till the fourth quarter, most likely.
Yeah, I think your matchups are good. Being a talking head, I'm going to predict no overtimes.
Okay.
First of all, the referees won't want it, and people don't want it because of the weather. Everybody's going to be scared about the weather. But you're going to see some great action. And other thing is the coaching matchups that these games have presented is going to be intriguing. Being a coach myself, it's one of the first things I look at when I see a showcase or a tournament. Yeah, I want to see what teams are playing, what top players are in there, but I always go to the coaching matchups. And I think you got some intriguing things here as to one of the things with Jeremy Jordan at Grafton. He's always analyzing. He's always Lynn, I think you can chime in on this too. And he's going to have to go against a stud like Mark Williams at 6'10".
That's really going to be interesting to see how they defend him. I'm not sure how tall Grafton is in the back line, but anytime you're going against a 7-footer in high school, that's pretty difficult.
And then,
Lynn,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Lynn, if Ed's picking no overtimes, I'm thinking it might be 3 or 4. What do you think?
Well, let's see. 3 overtimes.
Oh, there you go.
I'm telling you right now, and I'll put another dinner on it because Hatfield never pays up on his dinners. There will be no overtimes tonight.
I'm going to take your word for it, Ed.
Okay. All right. That means you're buying. The other matchup that's of interest that I'm really keep looking at hard, I like all the matchups. Oscar Smith and Menchville. Smith does like to get up and down. We played him. I know they like to get up and down. And then you got Menchville. Lamont Strother's done a great job of putting this team not only in a situation to be in the Division 5 playoffs, but maybe get that 4th spot and host a game, Matt.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? They could be, much like Smith, I think, in 6, they could be a wild card for the state tournament. Because I think if you were to look at it today, you're probably your 2 favorites you're looking at regionally for 6 and 5. You're probably thinking something along the lines of a Landstown and I dare say a Granby. And that's sliding even a Western Branch who's on a hot streak right now. Paul Hall doing another great job with them. They've won 9 in a row, I believe it is. Cox, who has beaten the likes of Landstown, Green Run, and Patriot in the past week. But, I mean, so you're looking at Oscar Smith. They might be in the top 3 or 4, and that's what I'm saying. They could be a team that wins that bracket. 6 is so loaded. And the same could be said for Menchville, because I think people talk about, as they've done the last 5-6 years, and 5, the first 4 schools that kind of come to mind year in and year out are Maury, Maury, Norview, Green Run, and Hampton. Those 4 kind of come to mind right away. So I could see Menchville and Oscar Smith being teams that are playing at the scope for the region championship.
And you're talking about Menchville and how Oscar Smith likes to get up and down the court. Menchville hung 99 on Warwick last night.
A lot of points. And I want to say, Lynn, that they had in the second quarter alone, if I saw right on Twitter, they might have had 36, 38 points. So they can score in a hurry. Only 2 losses for them this year. One was to Norcom, and then the other one was they actually beat Phoebus. The other one was to someone in the peninsula. It might have been Kickingham or a Woodside. But they've been battle-tested playing that PD schedule. They're playing some good teams out of district, so they'll be ready come playoff time.
Hey, Matt, I got to put you on hold again. We got to get another break. Can you do another segment?
We'll try to squeeze it in.
Okay, I know you're busy over there, but hold on tight. Everybody out there listening, hold on tight. We got a lot of basketball action going on today. Also, big wrestling tournament, the Virginia Duels up there in Hampton. But come on back and listen to us here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Now back to high school sports talk on ESPN Radio 94.1, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Here's Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Welcome back to another Saturday morning edition of High School Sports Talk. I'm one of the guys that Radio Voice said, Ed Young, the coach Ed Young. The other guy, normally in the lead seat, Matt Hatfield, is here in voice only. His body ain't here because his body's in Green Run High School. The other person that we have here is Lynn Burke. All right. You hear Lynn a lot of times when one of us is gone. And today we were both not here for the first time ever. And Lynn opened the show. So he got another first in his career of a mini first. So we welcome Lynn back in here. And we're going to go back on the line here. And the regular guy up here is Matt Hatfield. Matt, you still there?
I am. That just means that Lynn gets a pay raise for opening the show since you were.
No. He got to get in line behind me. All right, if he get a pay raise, first of all, I got to get paid, and then he can get his pay raise.
Well, for me, it'd be 1.5 times nothing's still nothing.
That's true. Nothing. I remember I heard a song somewhere. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Oh, that's a great Billy Preston, one of my all-time favorites. Billy Preston, who, by the way, briefly played at Kansas.
Yep,
and was a teammate of Matt
mysterious car accident.
He got
vanished.
He vanished.
Wow. So Billy Preston is not with us anymore. I did not know that.
Well, I mean, I think one of the two's with us, but that's a great song. And I told Matt Coleman when they came and played Lake Taylor at the Scope to tell Billy Preston Nothing from Nothing was my favorite song. And you know how kids are. He looked at me like I was from planet Mars or something.
Yeah, the kids don't know good music anymore, so that's a whole other story, too. Whole other show on that. Once again, we have Matt Hatfield, the CEO, the head of, the custodial manager, and the chief bottle washer for the VirginiaPreps.com. And by the way, people, if you want information on high school sports, if you don't go to VirginiaPreps.com, then you really don't want the whole story. I'm just going to give him a plug because it's well-deserved that all your information that you want to get at all the divisions, VirginiaPreps.com is a way to go. His tournament today, the 11th annual, is at the Green Run High School. You have a 12 o'clock game of Princess Anne versus Portsmouth Christian. You have at 1:40 Norfolk Academy versus Grafton. 3:20 Cape Henry is taking on Churchland. 5 o'clock Oscar Smith Menchville. And at 6:40 Green Run takes on Woodside. Great matchups. Each game has intriguing players. They've got some contrasting X and O styles of the coaches. You're going to see some good basketball action. I don't need to pump it up. It's a showcase. He does a great job. Unfortunately, you would have seen some teams such as Colonial Forge, Hayfield, Potomac Falls, W.T. Woodson, and John Marshall the perennial power out of Richmond. But those school districts told those teams, can't go on the road. We've got some weather coming that we don't like. We want our kids to stay home just in case. So, and Matt is efforting to get those teams back here at another time and continue to match up. So people get out there. Now, Matt, you mentioned it's $10 to see the games. Now, I had somebody mentioned to me, was it last week or somewhere, we played at in a showcase where one of our parents was complaining that the showcase cost like $8 or $9. And they said, I'm coming to watch one game. Why am I paying so much? Well, people, you have to understand, Matt, other promoters, you can't charge a price for one game. It's a showcase. You have the opportunity to come and watch some really good basketball, multiple games, that if you went individually to each of these games, let's say they just cost $5 each, you're talking $25, $30. So promoters like Matt, you got to make some kind of money on it, so you set up a price. If you're coming for one game, that's your business, but you have the opportunity to come for more to see some good basketball. So I just want to throw that out there because some people think that people are price gouging, they're doing that on purpose, and the game should only be $5. I said, no, because then you're talking basically $1 per game. Nobody's going to do that.
And you're also in a situation where if somebody only wants to pay for one game, then you've got to clear the gym after every game, and that's just not feasible.
Can't do that.
No.
So I just wanted to make sure that was clear so people understood that. And with Matt's showcase, which I don't hear at many other showcases, you had all opportunity up till yesterday for a while to get $2 off the price by just going online and letting him know. He'd let you in for a couple dollars off that he would hope you spend out in a concession stand, though. But, I just want to make that clear. And it's not that people are complaining. I think you'll have a decent enough crowd that people will be able to see these teams, especially the supporters of each of the individual teams. Matt, you still with us?
I am here. I'm here.
Hey, Matt, let me ask you this. You watched Landstown play last night against Kellum, and I know you're talking very highly, and we've got a clip later on when we move you off of here. We're going to bring Matt back on in the last segment around 11:45, but we do have a couple clips from the coach, Dwight Robinson, Landstown, and a couple of the players, if I'm not mistaken, Deante Mobley, Christian Jones we have coming on?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Both very instrumental. Jones on a couple of charges. Mobley at the point. They call him DD getting in the paint. This is a game too, Ed, where both Mobley was coming off a flu bug from earlier this week, because I told him, please don't give it to me. And Michael Christmas was from Tuesday as well. Their cornerstone piece, if you will, the 6'6" forward signed with James Madison University. They both came off the bench last night. And at one point, I believe they were up 54-28. And their bench had 29 points with those two, along with a couple other key cogs, and Josh Petitma and Nate Youngblood scoring pretty well. Their bench had more points than their starting five because their bench had starter quality players on it for that night, and that's what's going to separate them, I think, from a lot of teams. Doesn't mean that they'll win the region, but I think it's going to give them a great chance to win the region. Their depth, along with having more height. You saw them, Ed, in the Summer League at Heritage. This is probably one of Dwight's more versatile teams with length and size in the front line to go with. Pretty good guards and depth.
Yeah, of course, I saw them when they were shorthanded. They were missing some players. We had beaten them before the tournament, and then we lost them in the tournament. They are versatile, very multiple. Players can play multiple positions. So I think it's a team that has a great chance of moving on deep in the state tournament. Dare say that they can win the state tournament. I think they have enough in there. But Dwight's developing that bench. They play steady defense all the time, and they can score points from in a variety of ways, not only just in a half court, but they can transition also. Would you dare say that of all the teams you've been watching this year as you cover many games, top three at very least?
Oh, yeah. We started out preseason number one. They dropped down after they lost a game to Cox. Around that 3 or 4 spot. Granby got hot, obviously. We put Patriot number one in the state last week on our New Year's edition of the Top 10s on VirginiaPreps.com that we'll be updating after this weekend's Classic. And then I think they're going to probably return to number one with Patriots lost to Cox. Osborne was up there at one point. They've had a couple of injuries, and they don't have the bench. Their first five ranks up there with any teams from our region and around the state when you throw up there Granby and Western Branch and Oscar Smith and Cox and Kellum. But the way they just suffocated and smothered a really good Kellum team. I mean, you know this, Ed, they're not a team that gets blown out very often. I mean, people can beat Kellum, and I brought this up to Coach Robinson here in the first question. yeah, you can say you're more athletic than Kellum, more talented, but you got to be disciplined against them. And the way they just methodically broke them down, the way Kellum tends to do to people and increased their lead, didn't let them get on a run, was really impressive to watch. Just that attention to detail and focus, which you have to have in order to be a championship-level team.
Yeah, like I said, I think they have a lot of ingredients that you need to move on deep into playoffs, and you've got to have good play from your bench. Guys that understand their roles, were able to play it during the regular season. You kind of shorten rotation in the playoffs somewhat. And if you go to 8, maybe 9 players, pretty exclusive in the playoffs. And if those 4 guys off the bench are right in sync with your starting guys, you really don't have substitutes, so to speak, at that time. You've got 8 or 9 starters. And those are the kind of teams that can go deep. Teams pretty much with just 5 players, you just have to have tremendous, outstanding talent to go deep if you just have 5.
Oh, well, without a doubt. And I'd say of the teams from around here, if they're not the team with the best chance to win a state title, they're on the short list of contenders to do so. I do think whoever comes out of Region 6A has a really great chance, perhaps more than whoever comes out of Region 5A or 4A, simply because on a state scale, in Region 5A on the boys' side, Veronica's the team to beat. I mean, hands down, almost like in girls with Princess Anne, they're hands down the team to beat. And then Class 4, I think, is so up for grabs on the boys' side. Girls' side, you can make a case for Lake Taylor. Sandra Sawyer's team just absolutely obliterated Maury last night. They've been doing it to everybody they played except Princess Anne, who does it to everybody they play, except Lake Taylor. So the boys' side for Class 4, that one, as we mentioned earlier, that one's still up for grabs. And then Class 3, I'm liking a lot. And you said it's on one of our video shows, High School Sports Talk Plus video show, which we do from time to time and people can see on VirginiaPreps.com. You had pointed out early in the year at Northside, and they're still undefeated. They're playing really well in Roanoke, so they could be a team that maybe a Phoebus, maybe someone from Class 3 out of our area runs into, or John Marshall up in Richmond. Northside playing really well right now.
Well, hey, Matt, look, we got another break coming up. We got to pay a lot of bills, it seems, so going to have to let you go again. There's a couple more questions I want to ask about some of the other top teams in the area you've seen, and maybe a surprise team or two that, maybe at the beginning of the year we didn't think was going to be as strong, but now you're kind of liking them. So we got to bring you back on. How about you tell me when you want to come. I know you're busy over there with a lot of situations. When do you want to? Do you want to come back on next segment after? What you want to do?
Probably the segment after will work. I'll give you guys a shout, and if you need something, just give me a holler.
All right, call in then on that segment, and we'll go over the Dwight Robinson interview with his players coming up next. Go ahead and get in the hospitality room and get that thing set up, and I know the game's starting in another hour, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Hey, we got lots of goodies, wings, chili, tons of food and drinks. You want to come out there, Lynn, Ed, Thomas, it should be a good time here at the Virginia Preps Classic at Green Run High.
Well, the hospitality room is always ranked number 1. So until a Big Jimmy hits it, then forget it. But anyways, we'll call you back, Matt, and appreciate you holding on. And again, take care. Everything's going to work out. You're going to have some great games today and be no issue.
Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right. That's Matt Hatfield, the CEO of VirginiaPreps.com. He is also the director of the VirginiaPreps.com Tournament, Part 1, which is happening today at Green Run. We're going to take a break right now. You're listening to me. That's Coach Ed Young and my partner today, Lynn Burke, here on High School Sports Talk, ESPN Radio 94.1.
Recapping another busy week of prep sports, it's High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Welcome back. High School Sports Talk here on ESPN Radio 94.1. I'm the coach, Ed Young. Normally the lead voice, Matt Hatfield, is involved with his VirginiaPreps.com tournament showcase over at Green Run High School. That starts at 12 o'clock today. It's Princess Anne versus Portsmouth Christian at 12, 140 Norfolk Academy versus Grafton at 3:20. You got Cape Henry and Churchland. At 5 o'clock, you got Oscar Smith versus Menchville. At 6:40, you got Green Run versus Woodside. Those are all boys games. 5 decent games to watch. Unfortunately, you're not going to see Colonial Forge, Hayfield, Potomac Falls, W.T. Woodson, and John Marshall. Those teams were not able to come as the school districts pulled them because of the impending weather. Those areas are going to get probably, Lynn, you and I were talking over the break, a little bit of snow, a little bit of ice. I can see why they're not sending them. I think our area, not that I'm a weather forecaster, I think our area is going to see just a lot of rain.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way, just all the forecasts I've been watching during the week, and especially this morning. Hopefully that's all we're going to get here. Some rain, then it'll warm up a little bit. They're warming up into the 40s tomorrow, and that may wind up knocking any chance of snow out of the way.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good winter so far in terms of higher temperatures than normal. And, of course, people say, well, just keep biding your time. We're going to get a hit soon enough. And, I'm hoping not, especially on the weekends. For one sake, people like Matt and other guys that have their showcases, they'd rather see the bad weather during the week so they can get their showcases in, because you got teams traveling and a lot of hinges on that. A regular game during the week, you can move that. A whole showcase with a lot of teams, it's hard to get them all connected again on another date.
And especially during the week, with you, the season's starting to head down toward tournament time. You start getting games backed up, then you start really, really messing things up. I mean, the last thing you want to do is play 4 games in a week and then go into your tournament the next week. Yeah,
it's tough, and the things have happened. Since I've been here a long time, we've had a battle weather at odd times, and it usually seems it's like towards the end of January, beginning of February. I remember, was it 2 years ago? Right during exam break, our exams, which are normally the third week of January, were pushed back to like the first week of February. We had so much snow, and there were games backed up, and we were involved in a 4-game in a week, and people said, well, how do you handle it? Well, if everybody's doing it, you just handle it. If it only affects a couple teams, then that's a disadvantage, and you got to do the best you can with it. That's why you got to have your bench ready to go when you're playing multiple games. Plus, it's almost like tournament time. It's not backed up that much when you get to the state tournament, but, you might have to play a Friday, Saturday, or a Thursday, Saturday type situation. So, and that's why a lot of teams get in showcases to play multiple games in a week so that your kids are kind of used to it. And of course, a lot of your better players play in AAU, sometimes play 2-3 games a day in AAU in the summertime. So it's not as big as a deal, I think, as people make it out to be. It's usually the travel of getting there. That hurts a lot of people, is people a little afraid to get out in their car, travel somewhere, then come out of the gym, and all of a sudden you got snow, ice, whatever on the ground. That's not cool.
Yeah, the last thing you want today is for some of these Northern Virginia schools to get down here and play, then not be able to get back or have a heck of a time getting back.
Right. That's how I look at it, too, is that, that you have to err, as Matt said, you have to err on the side of over being cautious, because you just can't put a school bus out there and it ends up in a ditch. And then you got to explain, well, they had to go play a game. You didn't see the forecast? Well, we thought they can beat the weather. Beat the weather? You can't do that kind of stuff. So, even though it may end up being nothing, that's what they have to do. And then people like Matt, the promoters of these tournaments, they've got to kind of get with the coaches, the administration, and see when they can connect them. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes they can't do it. Sometimes teams will pick a certain date for a showcase because it fits their schedule. The next time they're open, it doesn't fit their schedule. In other words, they don't want a game that particular day. That was a day to take a break because of who they just played or who's coming up. That's the coach's strategy as to when they're going to play showcases. I know a lot of people say, I'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere. A lot of coaches talk that mess, but behind closed doors, no. You got to put yourself in a situation to win your district or your region to get into the state tournament. You have to do what's ever conducive for that. And if you can you want to play 3 or 4 days out of 5 or 6, and you think that's going to help you, fine. If you have that kind of depth, that's fine. But if you don't, you got to be careful. And also, our team, we're battling a couple guys with flu. Yeah. We had a kid last night, our leading scorer and our rebounder kid was out last night because of a bad ankle. The kid that led us in scoring last night, I was hesitant to play him. He's operating at about maybe 60% on a bad ankle. But he wanted to go, and we played him here and there, and ended up having a decent game for us. Our leading scorer last night's game, Justin Farley, dropping 20, a junior to keep an eye on. So, there's a lot of things that come into the coaching part, Lynn, and we have to worry about that. Yep. Hey, we're going to have to take another break. It seems like we're talking right into breaks, but that's how radio goes. And when we come back, we're going to listen to Landstown coach Dwight Robinson. Matt Hatfield spoke to him recently after one of his big wins. Last night they beat Kellum, and we'll talk to Dwight. But right now we're going to take a break here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1.
All right, we welcome everybody back to High School Sports Talk here on ESPN Radio 94.1. Yes, I am the coach, Ed Young, and the other voice you hear is my co-host today, Lynn Burke, formerly of the Daily Press Sports Department, hrvarsity.com. He is now the head of his lounge chair. He is retired. He's enjoying it. And Lynn, I didn't ask you earlier. The retirement's doing you good.
That's the best move I ever made.
I know your health is great. If you can catch Lynn Burke on Facebook, you'll see a different Lynn Burke than what you saw retire a couple years ago. He has done a great job of transforming himself, losing, I dare say, a lot of weight, and probably taking about 20 years off the of the mentality.
Yeah, the only stress I have these days is what color shirt am I going to wear in the morning.
Boy, I wish I could have that one. I just let my cat pick the shirt. Whenever he jumps up and touches, that's the one I'm going to go with. But boy, I wish I can get into that situation of not having that type of stress. But Lynn is on here today. Matt Hatfield, our regular guy in charge, is over at VirginiaPreps.com Classic Showcase at Green Run High School, getting ready for a 12 o'clock game with Princess Anne versus Portsmouth Christian. He has games at 1:40, 3:20, 5 o'clock, 6:40, whole day of basketball. Some great matchups, great teams. We'll go over that in a few minutes too. $10 to get you in at the door. If you would have talked to Matt earlier in the week, you got in for $8. But it's now 10, and part 2 of that showcase is coming up January 26th at Oscar Smith High School. Yours truly will have his team involved in that. The Naze River Warriors are taking on Wilson. I think it's an afternoon game. The time escapes my head right now. We'll find that out later too. But right now, what I want to do is to get a touch of Matt Hatfield on this radio station. And he just did an interview with Landstown head coach Dwight Robinson. Big victory they had last night over Kellum. We're going to talk to Dwight right now and effort that information from Dwight.
All right, here with Landstown head basketball coach Dwight Robinson. His Eagles win at 72-41 to move to 11-2 overall. Coach, you know, it's very simplistic. People say, all right, Landstown's a more athletic, better team tonight and more talented team. But you know Kellum doesn't get taken apart like this. How did you methodically break them down and win by the margin you did tonight?
We want to stay consistent. You know, we want to play each play. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, and we have in the past. We got ahead of ourselves. We have a couple times this year already. When we got leads, we kind of get complacent. But we want to stay in the moment, in that play. And we've been talking about it. We've been really grinding the last couple of days about communication. We've really been grinding about, you know, playing together as a team, not being individuals, being unselfish. And unselfish means talking too. Unselfish means, you know, boxing out. Unselfish. You know, a lot of people think when you say a kid's being selfish that it means he's shooting the ball a lot. Well, the shot selection is not what really bothers me. It's when we don't do the other things that has, you know, kind of eaten at me, and we've really been grinding with those guys about that.
You can have 7 or 8 different guys be your best player on a given night, obviously led by the James Madison signee and Michael Christmas, who had 19 off the bench tonight, coming off a flu bug, as was Deante Mobley. But I thought it was the other guy, Mobley, who really, second quarter, you could just see he had control of the game with the ball, setting people up, making steals. He was the maestro out there.
Hey, he's the general. He can set the tone on both ends of the floor, and the crazy part is he can set the tone on offense without ever making a basket. His vision is crazy. He's so quick. He breaks down a defense, whether it's man-to-man or zone. And I just don't think a lot of people know how good he is, because when you don't see a lot of points, you automatically think, he's just all right. And then when you come to the game and watch him, you're like, yo, he makes it go. And he's a guy that makes it go. And so, you know, real happy with his performance. And the key is that both of them came off the bench, and both of them were all right with it. Like, they were like, yo, coach, we good. And usually when you have 2 stars that come off the bench, you know, they're like, why coach not starting me? Because I didn't tell them before the game who was starting. I told them right when we went out on the floor that I was going to bring both of them off the bench, and they both were. They were great.
Well, going to the fourth quarter, I think you had 54 points, 29 from your subs. Josh Petitman, Nate Youngblood gave you great minutes as well. Come on for you. Josh Tauber's one of the best scorers in the beach in the area. How did you keep him scoreless for the whole first half?
You know, when he drove, we just wanted to send help early. But when you do that, you got to make sure that you cover up on the backside. So we've really been working on helping the helper, and then not giving up some things that we normally do against them. And so we really went back and studied ourselves, how we've made some mistakes defensively, looked at that and tried to make some corrections. But when you have somebody like Josh's going to score. He's going to score. So we don't expect to, keep him, a long way from his average. But we just want to slow him down. We wanted to make sure that every bucket he did score, it was a tough bucket, it was contested, and then clean the glass.
Final one, you get this win. It seems like since you've returned from Kentucky, this team's had a different laser-like type of focus and mindset, almost that championship form, which your teams have kind of resembled in years past. What have you seen from them day-to-day in practice, and then as you start to go on this journey here and get near the playoffs?
Confidence, spending 5 days together, away from everybody else, playing against competition, from Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky.
That matters, doesn't it?
It does, because you get in an atmosphere sometimes where it's just you. And so the only people you can rely on is yourself. And then they have to learn how to trust each other. And then they spend 4 and 5 days with each other to get to know each other better. And the trust factor has grown. Down there, Han had his last 2 games. He went for 18 and 17, but he grew up. He grew up down there. And now we're back here, and those guys, they trust him even that much more since we've been back. Josh, he grew up down there. They trust him a little bit more. And so that's why you see the different development of those roles. So those guys are out there starting, and we don't miss a beat because everybody else around them know that they're going to come through, that they're going to produce. They know what they can do on the court. And so sometimes going away really benefits you, and it really has helped us so far. And so we just want to keep it rolling.
Well, a strong statement on the road. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks.
All right, there you have it. Landstown head coach Dwight Robinson talking about team's big win last night over Kellum, 72-41. And also, Lynn, he mentioned about the trip in Kentucky where he took his team down there playing some really, really good competition from different states and how it kept the kids getting together. And, your years of coaching, reporting and on the coaches and that, you've seen some of that where teams go away. And then I'm sure you've had coaches say the same thing to you about what it does for a team.
It's a good bonding experience, too, especially you get kids that maybe don't know each other all that well. It's early in the season. They're maybe up from the JVs or maybe new to the school or something like that. And they go away, like Dwight said, for 5 days. And it's just them. They get to know their teammates and become, buddies or at least they're more comfortable with them. And if you had some success in the games, like he says, they start to trust kids a little bit more.
Again, I've been in the business as long as I've been. I've always taken teams up until the last few years. Of course, a lot of that depends on the money that a district has or that can contribute to a team. It's not cheap to go on the road in tournaments. I've had teams playing about 7 different states in tournaments over the years, and trust me, it does help a lot. Now, sometimes the bad thing of it is if you have a team where the kids really kind of edgy with each other, that can come out. Because you're going to have to, you got roommates, you got to spend time together with the team. But I've never experienced that part. Every time, even the team when I coached in college, we would take our teams into Florida a lot of times during the wintertime to get away from the bad weather. It has always been a major plus in spurring us on for the rest of the season, and kids getting to know each other. You do some outings. Like I know when we went to Florida, we went to Disney World with the team. That was a whole different experience. It does really help, and it's a shame more teams can't do it because of money issues, because it is a tremendous help. You see baseball teams do it in the springtime. You'll see a lot of teams from the north come down here and play because the weather's better than it is, of course, up there. So it really does work, and Dwight Robinson at Landstown has done that. I remember he used to take his team a lot up to Binghamton, New York. Instead of escaping the weather, they go right into it. So into Kentucky, maybe you don't get as bad winter. Speaking of Landstown and Dwight Robinson, we're going to continue an interview from that game. Matt Hatfield also got to speak to a couple of youngsters on that team, namely Deante Mobley and Christian Jones. Let's hear what those youngsters had to say about the win last night.
All right, here with a couple of happy Landstown Eagles. We got Christian Jones on the left, Deante Mobley on the right. They absolutely dominate the Kellumites 72-41 to move to 11-2 on the year. For both of you guys, start with you, Christian. Kellum doesn't get dominated like this very often. How did you guys thoroughly take them apart?
Well, we had 2 days of hard practice, went over there, played, just came out with a lot of energy and just dominated the game.
Dede, I know you came off the bench along with Mike. Christmas coming off a little bit of a flu bug. Please don't pass that on to me. But coming in here tonight, you looked like you had control in the second quarter as kind of the maestro. What's kind of Coach Rob asked of you at the point guard spot?
Coach Rob told me to be the general, lead my guys, lead the team.
Yeah, you did it. You had some big steals, an assist, a 3. Christian, you're known for knocking down threes, and the thing that sticks out about your game, every game I see you play, you get like 2 or 3 charges. You make a big play. Tell me about the art of taking a charge. How do you do it so effectively?
Because Coach Clark over there, he helps us work on our practice. So I'm just used to taking one every game, pretty much.
Do you guys both know coming in, Josh Talbot was the guy you had to contain? If you did that, you were going to win?
Yes, sir.
What was kind of the key to kind of keeping him in check?
Forcing him right, giving him help.
For both of you, last year you had the bad taste of losing to this team in the playoffs. How much did that kind of motivate you? Again, first time you get them in their place, you want to get a leg up on the standings.
It was a lot of motivation. It helped us bring a lot of energy towards the game tonight. So that was our fire for the game.
Coaches had to bring it up hard, or did you guys amongst yourselves, the seniors, know all right, we got business to take care of? Come on for you. What did the tournament in Kentucky do for you in terms of bonding and the improvement of the team? What did it do for you?
It helped us really grow as a team. We bonded very well, and we came back, as you see, we beat Kelvin. It helped us really
played a lot of good competition. Helped us get better in defense and as a team.
Coming in.
No, okay, that was kind of a short interview. We lost the contact, the last part of that interview with Matt Hatfield and a couple of those youngsters at Landstown, Deante, Mobley, Christian Jones. Lynn, as I've listened to Matt talk about the team, Landstown, whatever, they got a stud in Mike Christmas. We all know his background. That's a Division I player. But they've got a lot of other guys. They're not a one-man team. They've got a ton of kids, Donald Hand, the Mobley kid, Jones, Oliphant. Youngblood. They got a lot of guys, and Dwight does a tremendous job of using his bench in the right way to do it. I had mentioned earlier, and in your experiences, you watched the teams in the past, Hampton, Phoebus, all those great teams out of the Peninsula District. It always seems that teams that really move deep are teams that use their bench, can go deeper into their bench, and the kids could play multiple styles of play.
If you depend on 5 or 6 players throughout the regular season, you might be okay because your games are spread out a little bit. But once you get to the tournaments, somebody gets hurt, somebody gets in foul trouble, it's win or go home. You've got to have people who can step in.
And I think, too, you also look at the time of the year where we just mentioned earlier about weather that could back games up. Nagging injuries that may occur later. It's why sometimes you got to back off of maybe hard practice time. I'm not a big believer in backing off of practice, but maybe tone it down a little bit so that you take care of what you need to do in practice, but you really want to go hard come game time. So you keep that intensity going to practice, but you just shorten the practice. And, of course, the flu, which tends to come around more during basketball season than any other time during the year. You got to watch for, as you mentioned, kids getting sick. And Dwight mentioned earlier in his interview about selfishness. Sometimes we think about kids being selfish. All they want to do is shoot the ball and score points. He alluded to the fact that, no, they're selfish by not talking, by not carrying out a defensive assignment, by not boxing out, not doing the little things, just maybe standing around waiting to catch a ball because you want to score points. Boy, if you can get that, shake the kids out of that bad habit and buy more into everything else. Like I tell our kids, just said it last night at halftime. We were playing horrible. We were tied up. And Hickory is a very scrappy, hard-working team. They just undermanned talent-wise, athletic-wise. But that team does not lack in hustle, determination, execution. They don't lack. And we just did not come in with the right frame of mind. And I'm telling our kids why. We're not 15-0 or something. What are you doing? We have to play, respect every opponent, come in hard. And plus, we were shorthanded with players last night. So you really got to step it up. But the idea of being selfish is not just shooting the basketball. It's the idea of making sure that, hey, do these other things. Impress me with your defense. Shut a kid down that's averaging 18 points a game. Hold him to a season low. That's what I'm asking you to do. Well, hey, with that in mind, Thomas Simmons is asking me to take a break. So we're gonna take a pause here on ESPN Radio 94.1 High School Sports Talk. Come on back. Listen to me, to Coach Ed Young, and my partner today, Lynn Burke.
Now back to high school sports talk on ESPN Radio 94.1, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Here's Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
That's one of my favorite vibes right there. I love that music right there. I almost didn't want to even talk. Just let it play and relieve the stress that I have in my head. Yeah. I don't know, Lynn. I grooved to that one. That's one of my all-time faves right there. And, of course, that's one of Matt Hatfield. Talk about somebody who needs a stress release right now.
Yes.
Matt Hatfield will be that guy. We're gonna get him calling in here pretty soon. Thomas, if you can do that, maybe give Matt a call, get him back on the line. But right now, in matter of fact, let me just reintroduce everybody back to you do hear me, the coach, Ed Young. You don't hear Matt Hatfield. You will soon. He's at Green Run High School getting ready for the big showcase of games that he has coming up today in part one of his Virginia Preps Classic. 12 o'clock, Princess Anne versus Portsmouth Christian. 1:40, Norfolk Academy versus Grafton. 3:20, he's got Cape Henry and Churchland. 5 o'clock, Oscar Smith and Menchville. I think that's going to be a well of a game. 6:40, Green Run Woodside. That's a state-level game. All these games, people, you're going to see some intriguing players. Norfolk Academy's got the big fella, 6'10", Mark Williams. I dare say he will be a future pro. Portsmouth Christian has Montgomery, the point guard, playing against his old team, his teammates, some of his friends, coming back and playing against him. You got intriguing matchups in every single game. So make sure if you can do it, $10, get out there, watch a lot. Don't just come for one game. Stay for them all. Try to get a little bit of action. The weather's going to be later. The last game starts around 6:40. You'll be home before the rain hits. And, yes, it will be just rain. No ice, no snow. It will be okay. And, again, my partner today is Lynn Burke. We'll have Matt Hatfield coming on here shortly. Coming on right now, finally, he makes his debut today, late in the show instead of early, and that's the one and only Keith of Smithfield. Keith, Mr. Burke has been waiting for you.
Hey, Ed, Matt Hatfield, Ed.
Hold on.
Ed Burke.
Hold on. Let's do it again. Do your introductions again. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Ed Burke and Matt Hatfield, Mr. Ed.
A timeout. I'm not Ed Burke, okay? And there's not Lynn Young in here. So calm down, Keith. I want you to do it one more time. Let's get it right.
How you doing, Matt? No, hold on again.
All right, Keith, I can't keep giving you all these chances. Let me do it this way, Keith.
How you doing, Coach Ed Young and Lynn Burke? How you doing?
Yes.
Thank you. You got it right on the 9th try.
Keith, we're doing great now that you've called in.
Keith, are you under the weather?
No, I was kind of.
Well, then you need to be sick because you're making a mistake.
Kind of frustrated today, the loss got me last night.
Okay. I understand that. Trust me. I won a game last night, and I'm frustrated and stressed based on how we played. And I got some kids injured and sick. But, as somebody tells me, you don't worry about things you can't control. You didn't have nothing to do with that loss last night. I know you're a little upset because Smithfield's lost a couple of their games recently, but they're going to be all right. They're going to be in the tournament. They're going to be all right. They'll get it. They'll get it correct. Theodis Porter, the first-year coach at Smithfield, he's been involved in the programs before at Kings Fork. He'll know how to fix it. So trust me, Keith, you'll be all right.
Yeah, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be fine. We got the best coach, man. We're gonna be fine. The guys, we're gonna turn around back. We're gonna turn around back Monday night against Jamestown. It's focus. It's only thing you get better. You got to work in the gym and doing practice. Work hard in practice, and it pays off in the game. Well,
that's the thing. That's what I told my team is, you got to be focused. You got to be ready to play. You don't take anybody lightly. You got to be able to do a lot of different things, little things, nothing major. I'm not going to ask you to play outside of yourself. And as a coach, I have to learn all these years I've been coaching. And one of the things I'm still bad at is I let losses linger. It's done with. Stop, bashing the kids every day about you played bad 2 weeks ago. That's done. What is next? What's in front of us next? Let's go out and try to take care of business and have them ready. My job is to give them the tools they need. Their job is to use those tools along with their abilities to get it done. And one thing that you have to understand too now, Keith, at Smithfield, Coach Porter, they all started off really hot. Sometimes you're a victim of your own success, that you set the bar so high that when you lose a game or two or three, it's like the end of the world. No, you're going to lose games. It's very hard to go undefeated in a whole year, especially when you're playing some of the teams that Smithfield's playing. I mean, we were one of them. I would hope that we could beat them. Unfortunately, we were able to, but we knew we were going up against a good team. I scouted Smithfield. I knew we were going to be in for a problem. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for that game, but the team took care of business. So I predict you'll be okay Monday. You're going to get a win against Jamestown. Now, I get the Jamestown people mad at me, but I've got to help Keith out.
Yes, sir. Also, you got a good squad there too at Nashville. One of your kids I know real good, and we talked together. We play y'all, and I think it was number 12.
What number?
Number 12 from Nashville River.
12 is Rashad Williams. He's the football kid.
Yes, sir. I met him, and he's a great guy to talk to. Man.
He's a long time. He's an energizer type guy. He's probably my best defender. He don't back down from nobody. He's engaging on a ton of energy. He's engaging on that court. He's more of a football kid that I'm hoping that something's going to come up for here in football. Basketball is he enjoys playing it. He plays a role. I take him out on offense a lot because the only shot worse than his is mine, and I don't play no more. So, but yeah, he's an engaging young man.
Yes, every time I see himself around us play against Lakeland, Nashville, that always be a good game down to wire.
Yeah, it is. We had a 1-point win over Lakeland. A couple weeks ago, we had a tough 4-point loss to Kings Fork this past week, I think it was. And then last night, Lakeland beats Kings Fork 72-58. I'm a little surprised about that score. I thought it'd be a little closer. They played each other in that same tournament that you saw a couple weeks ago in the Suffolk Classic. So, Suffolk schools get together. It's crazy.
Yes, sir. Two more things I got up there. For the girls team, watch out for Princeton and Cosby. They will play, I think, this month. I think they're going to have a little something for them in the showcase at Cosby coming to here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we know Prince Anne's going to be good, and Cosby's got a tremendous tradition. So if that game's local, people need to get out and see that because, Princess Anne doesn't get tested enough. What else you got, Keith, before we go to break?
Last thing, my Lady Packers, they doing a great job too. Coach Lee doing a great job. The girls over our Lady Packers. Don't watch out for them. They might be a sleeper.
All right. Well, one thing about it is, if you're a sleeper, you better not do it during the game. You better wake up and play.
Yes, sir. And y'all have a nice weekend.
Hey, you too, Keith. Stay positive. Stay positive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. That was the one and only Keith from Smith. A little down. Dwight called in late, but he'll be okay. He'll be okay, and we'll be okay, too. We're going to come back from this break. We're going to have, in our last segment, we're going to bring back Matt Hatfield from VirginiaPreps.com as they get ready to play. So come on back and listen to myself, Ed Young, and Lynn Burke here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
It's high school sports talk on ESPN Radio 94.1.
All right. Welcome back. High school sports talk here live in studio. At least I'm in studio, the coach Ed Young, along with my co-host today, Lynn Burke. The other person who's supposed to be here, Matt Hatfield, is actually at Green Run High School for the VirginiaPreps.com Classic, Part 1. Part 2 is coming up on January 26th, 2 Saturdays from now. And number 1 is happening today. As we said earlier, 12 o'clock, you're going to see Princess Anne versus Portsmouth Christian at 1:40 Norfolk Academy against Grafton, 3:20 Cape Henry and Churchland, 5 o'clock Oscar Smith in Menchville, and at 6:40 the nightcap game with the host Green Run against Woodside. All games have players that are going to play at the next level. You got some great coaching matchups. You got intriguing X and O matchups going on in these games. Matt predicted maybe 1 or 2 overtimes. Lynn thought so too. I'm saying no overtime. Lynn thinks 3 of these. Wow, that's a lot. I don't see any overtimes. I'll say there'll be a buzzer beater, but no overtimes because the weather outside will be frightful only in terms of rain. There'll be no snow and ice. Matt didn't hear that, so I can say that because Thomas is going to let him come in right now. Matt, you out there?
I am. Good to talk to you guys again as we are 9 minutes and 45 seconds and counting away from tip-off here at Green Run High School. The fans starting to file in as Portsmouth Christian plays Princess Anne here. And not just a player to the next level, Ed. Every game has at least one scholarship-offered player, and every game has at least one Division I offered player or commitment in the game. So you'll see Division I, II, and III talent throughout the day. We will not have, we want to put this out there now, we will not have booklets available due to the snag yesterday. However, if you sign up to VirginiaPreps.com by the end of the weekend, we will have the booklets available for our members of the site, which will have archived scores from years past, archived MVPs, all of the rosters, which I know is valuable information to coaches like yourself, Ed, who like to scout and see what players' heights are and what numbers they wear, as well as the college coaches who circle throughout the day and go back later and watch the films. We'll also have DVDs available, thanks to our man Dan Trevino and Tyler Baines. So people that are unable to make it today, you can watch the full game footage, but only by becoming a member of VirginiaPreps.com. That should be up on the site in the next 5 to 7 days. following today's games.
Well, it's good information, but once again, I would have not said that because now you got somebody going to say, oh, I was going to come to the game, but since it's going to rain, I won't because I heard there's a DVD I'll buy. You can't do that.
No, not at all. I think there's people that will be in and out throughout the day, and there's also people that want to go back and watch a highlight dunk, a highlight play. They'll want to go back and watch. In fact, you go to our site now, Ed, and you can see archive games. I had someone when I was coming in that was commenting about that great double overtime game we had in Richmond with John Marshall and Blue Ridge. And I said, well, you go to our site, you can watch the whole game, but you got to pay to become a member. So people remember the game. They want to go back and see something that was memorable, a game-winning shot. We've had at least 3 game-winning shots in the history of our event that I can think of. Donald Hicks from Oscar Smith, and now at Radford hit a game-winning shot against Landstown a few years back. Austin Katstra from Albemarle, who walked on and is getting some minutes off the bench for undefeated top 5 ranked UVA and Tony Bennett. You remember him in the state tournament, Ed, when they beat Hampton a few years ago and lost that double overtime heartbreaker in the state semis that we called on the NFHS network against LC Bird. Those 2 young men have hit game winners, as well as our first year we did the event. You remember that we called it at Virginia Wesleyan. It was IC Norcom against Potomac up there in a sold-out. We had to turn away over 300 people before the Petersburg-Bethel game. Darius Theus,
yes,
we were on the call for his buzzer beater when Norcom beat Potomac, and Darius went on to play at VCU, and now he's on the bench with VCU and Mike Rhodes. I was sitting there at the ODU-VCU game after the 7-5-7 at 6 back in late November, or whatever it was, early December, and I'm looking over, and Darius Theus is in a suit helping Mike Rhodes coach. I'm like, goodness, I'm getting old.
Time does move quick. Yeah, I remember that youngster. Like I made that call the other day. He hits the shot that wins that for them. It's a lot of good stuff there. And, people, go ahead and sign up for that site. I'm telling you, there's a lot of things on VirginiaPreps.com that you're going to want. And there's a lot of stuff you don't even know about now, but you can only get if you're a member. And the subscription is not that high priced. It's Matt, are you allowed to give out the price on that or not?
Sure. It's $9 for the month. It's $100 for the year, and when you sign up, too, you have access to all of the premium sites on the Rivals.com network. So if you're a big Penn State fan like Thomas is, you can see all the stuff from the Penn State Rivals site, all the recruiting news. So it not only gives you access to our VIP board, all of our rankings, all of our premium content, but it gives you access to all of the college team sites on the Rivals.com network. So really it's a great tool to have if you're a high school sports fan or a college sports fan.
You're getting extended stuff. You're not just getting the local information. You're getting stuff, nationwide, depending on who you follow and what you want to get. So, $9 a month, $100 a year, not bad. I think it's worth it. Matt, of course, we talked to you a few minutes ago earlier about the event and the teams that are there, and I'd ask you about some of the better teams you have seen. You mentioned, of course, Landstown. Green Run, Maury. You mentioned a few. Oscar Smith. Who maybe are some surprise teams, boys, and if you can, I know sometimes you don't get a chance to see as many girl games as you really want to, but is there any teams on either side that maybe we got to watch out for here about a month from now in playoff time?
Sure, and I'll try to do this as the Portsmouth Christian cheerleaders cheer behind me, so bear with me, guys. No, you have, I think on the girls' side of being there, we all think of Princess Anne and Lake Taylor and Hampton as the favorites in their respective districts and on a regional scale with PA and Lake Taylor for 5A and 4A, and of course, obviously with the likes of Hampton, the Peninsula District. But watch out for Ocean Lakes. Kyla McMackin, she's been scoring points at a high clip lately with 30 and 40-point games. So watch out for Ocean Lakes. They were the region runner-up in Class 6 Region A last year to Landstown. Then they have a chance to go back to states. On the boys' side, a team that's really intriguing me, guys, is Lakeland. They beat Kings Fork last night on the road for the second time this year. They lost a close one to your Nansemond River squad by 1. But in Class 3, the only team that I would tell you definitive should be ranked ahead of them from our area right now is Phoebus. And so Lakeland could be looking at themselves being in the state tournament or maybe just one mild upset away from going to states for a program that last year I think at one point was 4-15, got off to a slow start. So they're one that comes right to mind as most improved. And watch out for Tab. Doug Baggett, a longtime coach. They don't get a lot of fanfare over there in the Bay Rivers. Not real flashy. Kind of getting behind Grafton and Smithfield in the limelight, if you will. But they did beat Grafton this year. And Nick Thomas is one of the smoothest, underrated scorers in the area. So Tab could be a team that while they might not get to the state tournament, they could keep someone from getting there in the playoffs.
Yeah, I like each one of you said. And of course, I've seen Lakeland up close and personal, and they've got enough tools to do it. They need to get some more bench production. It's still a young team. They can only have a couple seniors on that team, so it's still a young team that they could be there, especially in Division III. And I love seeing Doug Baggett, a longtime veteran, one of us older guys that Lynn can talk very much about being in the mix.
Yeah, and I noted at the start of the show that last night, their victory over New Kent, freshman Styles Gardner, season high, 23 points and 5 3-pointers. So he's got a good one for years to come.
Now the kid might outlast Doug. Who knows? I know
Doug's never leaving.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying, because first of all, his wife won't let him, because his wife can't deal with him at home every day. So he's going to have to keep on coaching. And I can say it because I'm pretty sure he's not listening right now. But, Matt, you mentioned Lake Taylor and the girls, and I did see that score. Am I right, 72-5?
Yeah, that was right. We actually had our own Larry Vaughn, who have a recap up later this weekend. He just sent to me, so I got to find some time to post it on the boys' game. And he was giving us Facebook updates throughout the night. And that game, according to Bill Nettles, who was also the public address announcer over there for Bobby Pennebacker at Lake Taylor, and is our voice here at the Virginia Preps Classic behind the mic, who you'll be hearing talking right behind me in just a moment. He said it's only the third time in his long-time years of announcing games where a team in basketball was up at halftime by something to nothing. And last night it was 40-0 with Lake Taylor and Maury. So there you have it. If he's been doing it as long as he has, and only happened 3 times, it's a pretty rare occurrence. Lake Taylor plays some stifling defense.
Yeah, Bill's been doing public address announcing for, I believe it's 795 years now.
That's a lot of years. I could see that many games, but that's a lot of years. I don't know how he's beating Father Time. Speaking of time, it looks like we're running out of it, Matt. So we're going to have to let you go. We're going to have to let the show go. And by the way, I'm going with all the home teams in the football playoffs, so mark me down.
Oh, I got one road upset. I got the Chargers winning there. But Ed will save you and Lynn and Thomas the seat if you can get out here. Virginia Preps Classic at Green Run should be a lot of fun. We are 1:15 away from tip-off for the first game.
All right, Matt, we appreciate it, and you'll be in studio next week.
You got it. We'll see you then.
All right, Matt. That's Matt Hatfield, regular co-host right here on ESPN's Radio's 94.1's High School Sports Talk. Today, Lynn Burke filled in. I tried to fill in for Matt. We got it done. Went quick, but it's the way. We got other things to do. We got to move on out of here. Lynn, appreciate you coming in. Thomas Simmons, hitting the buttons, making everything work right. And, of course, the fans out there that are listening, always appreciate you giving us an ear every Saturday morning. And if we're doing well, let our bosses know. If we're not, let us know. We'll fix it. That's High School Sports Talk here on ESPN Radio 94.1. Listen to us next week.